Flea has been nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Animated Feature, Best International Feature, and Best Documentary. This is an interesting one. Let's talk about Flea. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It, and welcome to my review for the movie Flea. Many accolades for this film, including 3 Academy Awards, and like I mentioned up top, in some interesting categories too. Nothing has ever been nominated before in these 3 unique categories. So we're going to get to this movie momentarily, but I want to welcome you in first to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video and my channel. Please consider subscribing down below. You always got to get that in there. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs before too long, so I would love to have you aboard as one of those. So this is really the last movie of the major nominees that I have not yet covered in my Oscar reviews. So if you want to check out anything it's up against in animated, I've reviewed all of those. In terms of documentary, I have reviewed Summer of Soul. I've seen 2 of the other ones. I'm waiting for Writing with Fire to get on to some streamer, or I have access to it somehow, so that I can review sort of an overview of the whole documentary category. And then for international, I've reviewed Drive My Car and The Worst Person in the World. So I've reviewed a lot of its contemporaries, but not all of them yet. But we will talk about the Oscar chances I see for this movie, as well as my review for it. So let's get into this. So in terms of the international portion, yes, this is from Denmark. It was the Danish entry this year in the international film. Each country sort of gets to pick their own best movie and submit it to the Oscars, and this one was submitted for international in Denmark, and there you go, it got that award. And then animated is not fully 100% animated, but mostly. I would say, I don't know, 95 probably percent or something, 90 to 95%. So that's good enough for it. And then for the documentary, yes, this is a movie about a man who we don't actually ever know his name. He's under an alias in this film for his own protection, which is also the reason it's animated. Which I think is very interesting. But he basically shares this whole past that he had of fleeing his country for the very first time, from Afghanistan. And he is also part of the LGBT community, so that, opens up another host of problems with the international universe. And we covered that in one of the documentaries. I think it was just last year, in Welcome to Chechnya. We sort of followed, a gay man there. But yeah, this is a really unique movie. There is nothing like it out this year. I can certainly say that. And I think for the most part, that is to its benefit. My buddy Tim, who comes on and does a lot of reviews with me, I'm sure he'll watch this as well. But he asked me, if I felt it needed to be animated. And I suppose not. I suppose you could just have the voiceover, whatever. But it's not like we have specific footage of this person on video or anything. So you would have to recreate it somehow. Yes, you could put in stand-ins or whatever. But the other nice thing is, instead of every time we interview him having, like a big black blob over his face or whatever, or pixelated, or, anything like that, we're able to sort of have a visual component to this story. And, just the same, they animate this guy, but I imagine he probably does not look that much like the real person. If I remember correctly, I saw this movie a couple of weeks ago. If I remember, there was like, either like a mole or a scar or something on the side of his face. And I just thought, well, he probably doesn't have that in real life. They probably just added that sort of to conceal his identity even further. So, no, I think having it animated was actually a very bold choice, and I think it worked. Because yes, like I said, it's not 100% animated. There's, bits and pieces of real life footage of, people trying to leave the country, or big buildings that we could be aware of, in his story. But it's all sort of to accent the story that is being told. Because again, we don't have any real video, I don't think, of his personal experience. We don't really have people shooting video of him, from 20 years ago, whatever. But the director, Jonas Pohar Rasmussen, is the writer and the director here, and I assume he is also the one doing the interviewing, and he knew this person as a child. And so it was interesting because he had never heard a lot of these stories either. This gentleman is sort of coming out with them for the first time. He knew some things. He knew his buddy, was gay or whatever, but the whole idea of why he left and what happened with his specific family seemed to be new to the interviewer. So I liked that a lot. And so they have him named Amin Nawabi, but I don't believe that is his real name. I think that's an alias made for this movie, because why would you have him keep his identity secret and then say his real name? So I think they just made that name up. But in any event, this was also produced by Riz Ahmed, who I had never really heard of before The Sound of Metal last year. But I'm gonna beat the drum for The Sound of Metal, no pun intended, I guess, into the ground until the day I die. This was, my top movie of 2020. It should have probably won Best Picture in my eyes. So anything Riz Ahmed does, he was the star of that. I will now sort of follow with, because I just feel like he's that exciting of a new personality. He has such a unique voice, and this is another thing that proves it. He produced this, and the results are very, very good. So I do have one, I guess, slight negative you could say about this movie, and it is that when we talk about some of the present day struggles of this person, they don't quite hold a candle, quite honestly, to the goings on back then, his story from the past. I don't want to say that they're pedestrian, because they're not. They're his problems currently, and obviously he's still suffering from a lot of PTSD kind of stuff from that time period. But anytime we sort of jump back into the present and he talks about what life is like now, I sort of am like, okay, well, I want to get back to this other story because it's so unique and so interesting. And the sad thing is, maybe it's not really unique. That's kind of the truth of the whole thing, is that giving him an alias also sort of gives us the allowance to attach this story to, thousands and tens of thousands and probably more of people with a similar story like this that we just, don't ever really hear about that frequently, So I like that part too. But yeah, anytime they jumped into the present, I was like, oh, I want to get back to the meat and potatoes here, of the escape and all of that. The animation style is interesting. It's kind of basic, honestly, but I think it does work for what this film is doing. So I got on board with that as well. So in terms of its Oscar chances, I would say the only thing it probably is in contention for, realistically, is documentary feature. I think it's kind of a two-horse race between this and Summer of Soul. Currently, the odds makers have it on Summer of Soul, but both have won a lot of accolades for the films throughout, the awards season. So wouldn't be surprised if it did win Best Doc, but I think that's really its only chance. Drive My Car was nominated in Best Picture. So I think that's probably going to win Best International Feature. Small chance for Worst Person in the World, because that was nominated for Screenplay. But Drive My Car was nominated for both Best Picture and Best Director. So there's almost no doubt in my mind that's going to win the Best International. And then for Animated, I think it's going to be Encanto's year. I think Flea could be a potential spoiler there, but I think it's probably going to go to Encanto. So in terms of me personally, for this film, I'm going to leave Flea with an A-. I do think it's probably the best international film I have seen this year. I teetered even on an A, really, but, the movie did dwindle a little bit in those more present-day moments, but it's certainly one of the most unique films of the year. There's nothing else like it, and so for that alone, I think it's worth seeing. But it's got a great story to boot. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.